Good evening, Earthlings. Welcome to Phronesis, a focus on frequency, a city versus jazz and poetry virtual performance. This evening, each piece is a meditation on the practical virtue of introspection. Ponder in this portal for a moment and be transported to the realm of possibility. With the culmination of the City Versus workshops this season, we have come to challenge our values, metaphysics, energy, and the very notion of time. As we journey through this melodious mixtape, take note of where strength enters the consciousness.
Introduction to Quantum Theory by Franny Choi.
There are only so many parallel universes that concern us.
In one, he isn't dead. In another, you drink light with your hands all winter. There is a universe in which no one is lying emptied in the street as the gas station burns. A universe in which our mothers haven't learned to wrap their bones in each small grief they found.
There is a universe in which there is no difference between the past and the ground. Another where the oceans pull the moon, and so on.
This is an incomplete list. It has been abridged for your comfort.
I can tell you about the many universes in which bad things happen to people other than the people you love.
Yes, in another life, it's someone else's sister who climbs to the roof that night.
In another life, the boys rise darkly from the asphalt to choke the engines of cruisers, and no one gives birth chained to a hospital bed, and no one's child washes blue ashore.
Sure, you can have these worlds, you can warm them in your hands at night, but know by signing, you agree also to be responsible for the universe where the oceans glow red. The universe where what we call shadow is pulsing with the musk of hooves, and especially the one in which humans exist, but only in the nightmares of small children.
Will you hold that one too? The version of the story that never learned to consider sound.
And the one where sound is only the opposite of metal.
And the one where the sound of metal is never enough to quiet the dead.
American Abecedarian by Joshua Bennett. A is for atom bomb. B is for blacks belting blues before burial, the blood they let to give the flag its glimmer. C is for cocoon and its cognates, cocaine, Coca-Cola, the cacophonous wail of drones filling air with wartime. D is for demagogue. E is for elephants and their semblances, every political animal laboring under some less than human name. F is for foxhole, firefight, fears we cadet onto men holding best intentions close to the chest as one might guilt or guns. And of course, G is for guns, G-men. Guillotines draped in flame, we dream any hellscape holds if it's up to snuff. H is for horsepower. I is for I I is for individual drive trumps all concern when it comes to this business of living joyously at the edge of wit, watching half a world drowned with your hands tied. J is for jeans. K is for Krispy Kreme. L is for loss. L is for loveliness. L is for lean in the cups of boys in white shirts billowing free in Mississippi towns so small they are visible only when passing through them like death. M is for metafiction. N is for next. Next wife, next car, next life. I would spin the bones in this flesh one by one to touch. O is for opulence, opportunity. Occasional anguish, but nothing compared to what I will reach when I peak. And P is for Preakness, poverty and bodies that flee it. Oh, body like a storm of horses. Oh, questions we dare not ask for fear of breaking rank or losing funding. Q is for quarantine. R is for repair. Revolution, other conflicts that lack limit in any definitional sense. S is for stars. We adore and reflect. T is for tragedy. U is for upper middle working class when the survey asks. V is for the viola my mother plays in the 1970s as her hometown collapses without fanfare. W is for Windows 98 in the public school computer lab and every fourth grader playing Oregon Trail there. X is for xanthan gum. Every everyday ingredient you couldn't identify by sight if you tried. Y is for Yellowstone. Y is for the yachts in the docks of our eyes. Z is for zealotry. National pride like an infinite zip line, hyperdrive, the fastest way down.
Helen Considers Leaving Troy by Jeananne Verlee. After a bottle of Chianti. Don't mistake me, I've pondered this before, but tonight I'm serious. One bottle and the end is certain. Tomorrow, lawyer, boxes, roadmap, more wine. While walking the dog, Paris won't even notice. I'll feed the pup, pack a quick bag, take out the trash, and slip away into the night. Home to Sparta or Santa Monica, an island off the southernmost tip of Peru. Disappear like fog from a mirror. While paying the bills, guess I'll have to give up that whole new career plan. Academic dreams, house and yard dreams stay on like this. A few more years or forever. Face the bottomless nights in solitude, wither. Drink, write poems about dead ends. Drink more, work, pay rent, end. When Paris comes home drunk, call Clytemnestra. Make a plan. Move a few things into Clem's spare room. Storage for the rest. Set up arbitration. File what needs to be filed. Head to Athens or back to Crown Heights, maybe. Find a roommate in Fort Greene. All I know is out, out, out. Sure, I could blame the past, or the scotch, or my own smart mouth, or my own worst rage, but blame is a word. I need a weapon. When Menelaus writes a letter, as if from the ocean floor, bathtub, ocean, whichever, all this water, yes, Paris pulled me from the ruby tub. Menelaus fed me to the river a year before that, metaphorical and not at all. Oh, a girl and her water. Such romance, gaudy and gauche. How do I leave what cared enough to keep me? What are those goddamn ships? That ridiculous horse, all those men. Now, wretched little me, all this dizzy sadness. How many kings to tame one woman? Silent tone, how many to put her under?
International Rose Test Garden by Beth Bachman.
I offer you a cup of tea made from the roses that survived the bomb, honeyed inside a porcelain cup painted with roses the bees would go wild over if they could see the color red or feel its electric field. The ether, I say, seems to me to be embodied in the scent we inhale, so the tea, when we are away from the garden, will remind us to breathe. The flowers are earthed, but the air around is charged with 100 volts for every meter above the ground. The pollen leaps from the flower. When the bee buzzes near the way, the thorn beckons our finger toward it, even though we know there will be a welling of blood. It's electric.
I hum. Where are you going, my river? My river, where are you going? To the sea? To the sea? Before the garden, a woman read my tarot from a deck of her own making. My past is a grave reflected in mirrored sunglasses, a headless soldier, a toilet after a party. But she says, if I get through a series of 3 places, a mountain, a city in fog, a long river by raft, I will meet the 2,000-pound wax man of judgment, and after that, find a place at last to rest my head. In the middle, there's a body with a hole at the head and at the heart and at the part of a woman that looks like a shell. And underneath, the first card I pulled, a shell, she says, could be emptiness or entry. I see, I say, like a flower. Before I go, she asked me to write down my shame. So I write, didn't ask the question, and drop it in the anonymous box.
Like me, the bees are attracted to blue and see it like Monet does, deep and watery.
I'm wearing a shirt with a bunch of mixed up letters, and nearby another woman shouts, "What is it?"
It has to say something. There are the letters H-A-N.
T.S. Eliot writes in a note about the tarot cards read in The Wasteland that the hanged man is associated in his mind with the hanged god, which has to do with a ritual of sacrifice.
Something must be destroyed in order for something else to grow, the theory goes.
Of the fun facts about shame, I'm handed, I'm attracted to be too shameless is to play God.
Quick, boys! The bombs are falling and you can save just one thing. What is it?
The roses. Hybridists know each bloom is tender, born from crossing, so they sent the seeds overseas.
The garden we walk is an asylum for roses too rare for erasure.
Before and after Eliot's poem on the rose garden ends,
we played hangman one night to unravel a ladder. You look at me in recognition and speak softly. Oh, happiness.
It's been there all along on my chest.
What's invisible to us,
the bees use to bind. Future by Mia X. Days. Hungry for your sweat, thirsty to accept your truth like the vitamin it is. You nourishing fountain of youth, you beautiful soul on fire, full fed, filled with more than enough energy to rise, energy to ascend to the sky. You done with the lie. Heed the language of the rain, the language spoken quietly on smooth window frames. You be reminded of your flight, the tips of your wings dipped in the teal of flames. You who ring bells, who run through villages with vibrant fabrics blowing in the wind. When the wind is a satisfying blue, the blue, an atmosphere and a tone, a blue-green moan over tea on a deck in the wide open sea at sunrise or seaside when the seasons change. When a door shuts, a window opens. Just breathe. Accept yourself as the symphony you are. Breathe, just breathe, just love, just hope. Days escape time's entrapment, moments of freedom, too sweet, dissolving in ecstasy. Just breathe, accept.
Nucleation by Sally Wen Mao. The harvesting of pearls, the very process, is a continuous, systematic violation of flesh. Insert the mantle tissue of a foreign creature into the oyster shell and wait for its insides to react. This is called nucleation. Panicked, the oysters produce nacre. Trapped in the nacre, the invasive agent, the parasite or mantle tissue, is subsumed by the pearl. To domesticate, then, is to force feed. Mikimoto, in his dreams, wanted a string of pearls to glow around the neck of every woman in the world. Like the bioluminescent waters of his youth, a deep sea dive, the pearls became warm upon touch, upon being worn. Women wear the trauma of other creatures around their necks in an attempt to put a pall on their own, adorn the self to be adored. What if we fail? What if we are failures at love? A man once called me adorable on a date at a museum. It was hailing outside, and we were wandering through the death and transcendence wing. I looked into a woman's tomb, its mother of pearl inlays. A limp body looked back into the gap around my neck. I had no amulet. I had no protection.
On Hunger by Hanif Abdurraqib.
And I say now what I have always known. A king is only named such after the blood of anyone who is not them pools at their feet and grows to be a child's height before running down a hill, flecking the grass of a village crowded with quivering mothers and their boys huddled underneath a new and undone black sky. There is not a way to rule without the knowing of where your family will get its next meal, rather who it will be taken from or who will become it. The dead, we know, do not hunger for anything but stillness. Perhaps their names sung around a fire by those still living, their gold worn atop the head of the man who made a widow of their lover.
Consider, though, the wild, the lion that fears nothing and falls into rest with a stomach fat as a second moon. If a lion walks with his head high through the open savanna, the bloody and
detached leg of a hyena swaying from its jaws, he will not be hunted by any animal he cannot render immovable, will not be attacked by any limbs that he cannot turn into
an undone puzzle spilled across the playroom floor, where there is no one waiting to dig your chest into a parched well, no army surging over the hills. What is a king but
a heavy name pulled over a heap of arrogant flesh? The pack of ravenous wolves prey only to the god of survival, its hands as impartial and fleeting as any other
god we name. Let carry us to all manner of war. Imagine if there was only one land, if the continents never shook themselves free from each other's touch and still
laid atop each other. The jungle rolling into the desert with no river to divide them. Imagine the pack of wolves running into dusk and setting upon the golden flesh
of a lone lion, roaming the ground he rules, each wolf climbing atop the other to find their taste, to pierce the neck, stake a set of teeth into a flailing paw until they
have had their jaws lined with nourishment, leaving only a severed head, entrails stretching over the dry land. The wolves would move on, newly throned
and full. Every animal that watched cheering a vicious king's lifeless body in the high grass. And the clouds may weep for this, wash away another dead thing.
But this is all imagining a world where the wolves do not have to lose any of their own to be fed, where the food they desire comes trembling to even their smallest children,
where they have a homeland,
don't have to run into every untethered
night howling into the emptiness. The old man rocks on the porch and tells us boys that the way to power is displaying what you kill, letting a body rot in the stink of summer's blaze, meat cooked dark on the steaming pavement, so that no one will dare hunt you while you sleep, or so a mother knows where to collect whatever is left of her child's name, push it under her tongue until it swells, fat with grief in the hood. Everyone is driven to kill by some distinct kind of famine. A family pressed up against each other's exposed rib. What a luxury it must be to hand over death for the sake of watching someone die. To not have to answer for the blood you spilled until the gates of heaven ask about the history of your palms. I don't know how my people navigated their land before they were shook free from its touch and thrown down in a hot field with new names and new songs of survival to fit into their bulging mouths. But I think of the nights, thick with the pounding of black footsteps and the distant howling of flames as I watch the burning of another building in a city soaked by death which fed no one's hunger, the fire rising to kiss the black belly of a night sky, each star a set of gleaming and eager teeth.
Do Not Oversuds by Ali Longo. Am I reading at the laundromat because it seems like the place to read? Or do I want people to see me trying to scrub the memories of you out of my mind as deep as the dirt out of my jeans? Am I writing poems at the laundromat because there is nothing else to do for an hour? Or because this is what poets have been told that poets should do? Am I crying at the laundromat because it is truly a bleak place to sit on a Sunday night, or because $30 just disappeared into a metal slot as thin as the eyelashes I pluck one by one from my skin? And they were meant to protect my eyes from the overflowing tears, just as you were supposed to be here, protecting me and my feelings as I stand guard by the machines before the next person jumps in line so fast to rip my clothes out of the dryer, just as you did with my heart. Am I really positioned on the black folding chair underneath the cheap Starry Night painting, just like the one I made right after you broke up with me and then you paid me to keep it? You probably trashed it right after I moved out. I never could see the stars in your backyard, but I see them now every night on my new front porch and even from the curbside of this laundromat parking lot. Does the sign below Starry Night actually read, "Large washers require less soap, do not over suds"? The machine's divided by size: small, double, triple load, giant, each a different price. I carry the clinking quarters in my shirt pocket, prepared to keep adding more for extra extract, to dry the clothes that can't seem to dry like the rest of them, to show I can afford to do this all on my own. I no longer use liquid detergent, only small bits encapsulated in plastic that melts away and suds scientifically. I no longer add extra extract at the start to make the load cleaner and softer and stronger and fresher all the way through. I calculate exactly how much each cycle needs so I do not overextend, do not leave with nothing left in my machine heart. The cooking channel and white Christianity slide past the small TV screen to make us more aware of the basics, to keep us numb from personal feelings as we all fold on the same 8-count, robotic and cold, smells of cotton fields and daffodil dreams escaping from our bins, hugging the warmest of lavender-scented cloth, like we did a good thing, like we were productive tonight, like we are more human because we appear clean. But I do not know what each of you will do when you leave this place. I do not know how each of you will get home. I do not know how many of you set intentions and spoke mantras to the ticking of the machine clock. I do not know how many of you were looking at me while I was engulfed in the suds of sadness. I do not know if you could have made me cleaner inside with a simple smile. I'm used to having to pay a large price for that kind of happiness. But there's always next week. To come to this exact spot and read your body language instead of my poems, to wipe our tough weeks clean with a conversation instead of my tears, to listen to the choir of sighs and holding back of other tears and laughter and the mundane, to clean our conscience of the hard to get, stuck on grime of our heartbreak.
To The Angel Beast by Edward C. Crowd. All that glitters isn't music. Once hidden in tall grass, I tossed fistfuls of dirt into the air, doe after doe of leaping. You said it was nothing but a trick of the light, gold curves, gold scars. Am I not your animal? You'd wait in the orchard for hours to watch a deer break from the shadows. You said it was like lifting a cello out of its black case.
An Old Story by Tracy K. Smith. We were made to understand it would be terrible. Every small want, every niggling urge, every hate swollen to a kind of epic wind. Livid the land and ravaged like a rageful dream. The worst in us having taken over and broken the rest utterly down. A long age passed, when at last we knew how little would survive us, how little we had mended or built that was not now lost. Something large and old awoke. And then our singing brought on a different manner of weather. Then animals long believed gone crept down from trees. We took new stock of one another. We wept to be reminded of such color.
Skin Light by Natalie Diaz. My whole life I have obeyed. It's every hunting. I move beneath it as a jaguar moves in the dark liquid blading of shoulder. The open gold field and glide of hand, light-fruited and siphoned. I have come to this God-made place, Teletlochko, the ball court, because the light called light words, and dwells here lampland. We touch the ball of light to one another, split bodies stroked bright, desire knocked, light reshapes my lover's elbow, a brass whistle. I put my mouth there, mercy lux, and come we both to light. It streams me, a rush of scorpions, fast light, a lash of breath, the God maker. Light horizons her hip, springs an oscillate cut of chalcedony and magnetite. Hip limestone and cliff slopes like light into her thigh. Light box, skin bound, wind shakes the calabash, disrupts the light to ripple, light struck, then scatter. This is the war I was born toward. Her skin, it's latent. I desire, I thirst to be filled, light well. The light throbs everything in songs against her body, girding the knee bones, our bodies, light harness, light thrash, the bruising bilirubin bloom, violence, a work of all good yokes, bloodlight, to make us think the pain is ours to keep light trapped, lantern, I asked for it, I own it, light monger. I am light now, or on the side of light, light head, light trophied, light racked, and light gone. Still, the sweet maze and eruption of light, or its feast from the stalk of my lover's throat, and I, light eater, light loving.
Woman Watches Ocean on a Reef Through a Glass-Bottomed Boat by Angela Jackson. In the ocean, one fish swallows the other, a geometric progression of loss. You are bigger than I, the calamity of love swelling out larger than us. And what destiny partakes of our dilemma? Swallows the cause and effect, eyes and kissing mouths and enlarged parts wanting to breathe and wanting. There is no gentle sense to this, is there? Only a kind of terror at the chain of events, the scale of loss, the ordered destruction one against the other. All that something larger awaits its moment.
Time Lapse by Gabrielle Bates. A hummingbird is pulled like a bull toward the loudest reds, lands on the inmost branch to preen, where only I, with window view, can see the arching back of her green torso. I think of the sentence the boy, man, said to me while I lowered myself to a frameless twin-sized mattress. Your neck looks so breakable. In a time lapse, nothing happens smoothly. Red horns quake as they splinter from limbs on the bottle brush. It was never the same after that. Dancing, walking around the cemetery I liked to visit when the weather was good, buying groceries after sundown. And what did I say to him? Did I say, thank you?
Card 19, The Sun by Brenda Shaughnessy. When you show yourself to the woman you love, you don't know your fear is not fear itself. You have never been good, but now you are so good. Who are you? Is it the liquidity of her skin that bathes the world for you, or her face captured like a she-lion in your own flesh? This summer bed is soft, with ring upon ring upon ring of wedding, the kind that does a clink upon contact, the kind with no contract, the kind in which the gold is only light. Cloud covers and lifts and sleep and night, and soon enough, love's big fire laughs at a terrible burn. But only because pain absorbs excess joy, and you shouldn't flaunt your treasures in front of all day's eyes.
Is It True All Legends Once Were Rumors by Carl Phillips. And it was as we'd been told it would be. Some stumbling wingless, others flew beheaded. But at first when we looked at them, we could see no difference, the way it can take a while to realize about how regretfulness is not regret. As for being frightened, though, for many animals, the governing instinct when most afraid is to attack. What about the tendency of songbirds in a storm toward silence? Is that fear too? For mostly, yes, we were silent, tired as well, though as much out of boredom as for the need to stretch a bit. Why not the rest on foot? We at last decided, and dismounting, each walked with his horse close beside him. We mapped our way north by the stars, old school, until there were no stars, just the weather of childhood where it is snowing forever.
Sip in Divine Truth Serum by Attorious Renee Augustin. Baby, you know the tea was just fine. That's usually how I know if I want anything in your house. But on this particular day, I made the mistake of asking for water. You decided to put ice in it. Strike one. The water tastes exactly like frozen vegetables and a lack of baking soda. You're supposed to convince me you're the professional? Instead, we are in your basement where you obviously haven't cleaned this month, and I am concerned. The water tells me everything I need to know. But know this, when I pull up, I stay divinely protected. You see, my ancestors don't play about this bloodline. Warn me against men that only know the capitalism of their id-driven decisions. As if of a remission of sins, it is the International Day of the very reason you can take a breath, and still you show no respect. Strike two. Instead, you explain how you are the mastermind? Strike three. A mistake in understanding. Let the tide blow you back to your place. I have never been a rib. I am the whole damn portal. Swallow the sun, let the shimmer break and never give out. Disaster is not a spectacle, just an everyday thing. I believe someone's water has a lot to do with who they are as a person. Sip sour on the back of my tongue. I know, you know, no respect. No matter how revolutionary you think you are, lived is still just the devil backwards, a mistake in chaos creation. Breathe deep and stretch, they stay right here. Kin whispers journey forward. Alignment is the alchemy of self.
A map to the next world.
By Joy Harjo.
In the last days of the fourth world, I wish to make a map for those who would climb through the hole in the sky.
My only tools were the desires of humans as they emerged from the killing fields, from the bedrooms and the kitchens.
For the soul is a wanderer with many hands and feet.
The map must be of sand and can't be read by ordinary light. It must carry fire to the next tribal town for renewal of spirit.
In the legend are instructions on the language of the land, how it was we forgot to acknowledge the gift, as if we were not in it or of it.
Take note of the proliferations of supermarkets and malls, the altars of money. They best describe the detour from grace.
Keep track of the errors of our forgetfulness. The fog steals our children while we sleep.
Flowers of rage spring up in the depression. Monsters are born there of nuclear anger.
Trees of ashes wave goodbye to goodbye, and the map appears to disappear.
We no longer know the names of the birds here, how to speak to them by their personal names.
Once we knew everything in this lush promise. What I am telling you is real and is printed in a warning on the map. Our forgetfulness stalks us, walks the earth behind us, leaving a trail of paper diapers, needles, and wasted blood. And an imperfect map will have to do.
Little one,
the place of entry is the sea of your mother's blood, your father's small death as he longs to know himself in another. There is no exit.
The map can be interpreted through the wall of the intestine, a spiral on the road of knowledge.
You will travel through the membrane of death, smell cooking from the encampment where our relatives make a feast of fresh deer meat and corn soup in the Milky Way.
They have never left us. We abandoned them for science.
And when you take your next breath, as you enter the fifth world, there will be no X, no guidebook with words you can carry.
You will have to navigate by your mother's voice. Renew the song she is singing.
Fresh courage glimmers from planets
and lights the map printed with the blood of history. A map you will have to know by your intention, by the language of suns.
When you emerge, note the track of the monster slayers. where they entered the cities of artificial light and killed what was killing us.
You will see red cliffs. They are the heart, contain the ladder.
A white deer will greet you when the last human climbs from the destruction.
Remember the whole of shame, marking the act of abandoning our tribal grounds. We were never perfect.
Yet, the journey we make together is perfect on this earth, who was once a star and made the same mistakes as humans.
We might make them again, she said.
Crucial to finding the way is this: there is no beginning or end.
You must make your own map.
Good evening, everyone. The waxen gibbous blooms tonight, and we have navigated what it costs to maintain the continuity of self and others. Upon building the world in our own equitable image, we have the opportunity to be catalysts of growth. Although that seems a daunting task to undertake, these thinkers have provided authentic avenues out of alone. As we love that energy cannot be created or destroyed, just transmuted to the myths of our own understanding. May your magic be as abundant as your light. We are immensely grateful to have shared this alchemical, sonorous soundscape with you. For the beloved Fox. Before we say goodnight, we'd like to thank NJPAC partnering with Rutgers University-Newark and the Mellon Foundation to bring you Phronesis, a focus on frequency, a city versus jazz and poetry virtual performance. Good night.